Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to a Bears Victory Monday. I am your host of the Prepare to Repair show, Steve Suarez, and joining me on the show, which is powered by Ferguson Supply Kitchen, Bath, and Lighting Showroom, located at 7950 West 185th Street in Tinley Park, and RJ Graham Plumbing, is Mr. Tyler Libersher with TL Renovations. He is back with me for part 2 of our show because there was just a lot of topics that I felt that we should cover and we didn't get a chance to because the hour goes by so quick and we get to talking about different things that go on that he does and just in the trades in general.
Yeah, thanks for having me back on, Steve. Really appreciate the invite back. There's so much to talk about with painting, so it's always fun.
Oh, absolutely. Before we get started, I would like to wish my daughter, Silent Al, who's been on the show a few times, I want to wish her a happy 25th birthday. As of now, she is the favorite, but that will change probably before the end of the day because due to attitude and other issues that she will probably do to aggravate me. So, Silent Al, happy birthday. Love you. You're the best for now.
For today, birthday day.
Yeah, you're the best for now. So
my brother just had a birthday over the weekend on Sunday.
Oh, yeah? How old is she?
It's my brother. He's maybe 27 around there.
Your brother, he's 27?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
No, you made me feel old. Thanks, buddy.
I'm turning 30 soon here in November.
Well, you made me feel old, my man. You're making me feel old. So, and I like to bring up
the 3-0.
I like to bring up the Bears victory Monday because I was at the game actually last week and yesterday and the opening day. Opening day it rained horribly. Yesterday it started to rain towards the end of the game. So, but got a victory in both of them, which was pretty cool.
Nice,
especially for the home game. It wasn't pretty, but we did it, so I was pretty excited about that. And just wanted to throw a fun fact out there that anybody who watched that game in the beginning, or the first game of the year, apparently the field was all flooded and all the players were slipping and sliding on it and having a great time. Apparently, when these fields are built and these stadiums are built, they're built with drainage. They're built with drainage systems on them to make sure that when they do get large amounts of rain, they're so good that the grass is pretty much, no matter how much rain they get, they're
Isn't
wet
the
to the
grass
touch.
fake?
No, the Bears play on actual grass.
Okay, 'cause I know they paint their lines in their end zones.
Yes.
So I'm always interested in that, seeing those stencils go down.
They do that, and they did the field looked a lot better.
Okay.
A lot better this game than it did opening game. But when you see other teams and other stadiums getting ready and they're doing their logos, you see what a great job they do painting that the logos
it's awesome.
down.
They spray them.
Oh, yeah. It's they do a great job doing that.
And I never see them wear respirators either. They just go at it.
I don't know what kind of paint that they're using on it. I don't know if it's anything that is really hazardous because they are playing on the field and these guys are going face down into it. So, I mean, some of the turf.
So, really all paints are hazardous. So.
You're ruining my Bears thing. Anyway,
my bad.
I wanted to just say that apparently, I guess they had an issue with one of the pumps that were there that handled the drainage at Soldier Field on that first game. So
that's why the water was staying there?
Yeah, so they had basically a pump failure. So basically, everybody, you're not alone when you have a pump failure. So it can happen to even.
Did they call you guys to replace that pump?
That's too big. That's a little bit bigger than what we would do. But it happens everywhere. So check your sump pumps. Make sure that they're operating.
That's super important.
Properly and correctly. Yeah.
There's a lot of insurance work because of backed up pumps.
Yeah, it can. It's a relatively cheap insurance policy when in regards to the damage that it can do. Relation, I should say, in relation to the damage it can do. So, but yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like a fun fact that they had drainage issues and they had pump issues appears that, but they got it fixed. But that's what was the issue, and
that's what drew you to that.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I was like, somebody told me that they had there was a pump issue on it, and I started laughing. I'm like, well, not laughing like haha, like, oh, good, meme. Like I was just thinking, haha, moment that this happens to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
It happens at Soldier Field.
So
it can happen in your house. It happens everywhere. So just keep in mind that check your sump pumps and your backup systems. Make sure they're operating, especially as we get in the fall. The rain's going to start coming, and we haven't been getting rain that has been, I said it before on a previous show. We're not getting the few showers and that's it. When it's coming through, you're looking at the radar and seeing tons of red and some storms that are coming. It's dumping a lot of water on us. So just be prepared and rather
be. Is that
be
coming up then?
What's that?
The rain?
I don't. Who knows?
Who knows?
I mean, that's right. When you start getting into the fall, we start getting in a lot of these heavy rains that come through, and just better be prepared. Now's the time to start checking all your drains. Make sure you get leaves in that clog up everything.
Yeah, especially with the leaves falling from the trees on your gutters.
Yep.
No one does that. Next thing you know, the water's up against your basement and saying hello.
Or exterior drains. Make sure your discharge line is buried and so it doesn't freeze because it's.
And if you're not comfortable getting up on that roof, you got to hire someone to get up there and check your gutters.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Clean those out yearly.
And not only that, but you have to look at the fact that even we're in September, we're getting into early October, and we could get freezing temperatures in 2 weeks.
Yeah. So when the ground freezes and then it rains, so much worse. The water's got nowhere to go.
Yeah. I've seen people with their sump pump discharge lines running through like a corrugated hose, like an 1.5 inch hose that just sits out there, and all it takes is for that to freeze. And once it freezes, pump has nowhere to discharge, so it literally just kills the pump. So those are a no-no. You want to have this thing discharging into the ground, going to a source or a destination, whether it be a drainage ditch, a storm sewer, some sort of swale, anything away from the house, where it's pitched away from the house. But yeah, we're talking about water here. What we're going to do now is we're going to bring it over to what you do.
Yeah.
And actually, I run into this as well. We touched on this topic last week, and that's one of the reasons why I brought you back, because some of the hazards of the job.
Yeah. So and lead and asbestos, even our water-based paints, still have carcinogens in it. But the main thing right now is that the big question mark is asbestos and our lead-based paint, because that's, the known problem right now with all your houses built between the 50s, 70s, 80s. Usually late 70s is when you stop seeing lead paint and asbestos in your, because asbestos comes in your popcorn ceilings.
Yes.
Usually you see a glimmer to it, but really, if your house is built 50s and the 80s, you want to get it checked. Right. And you don't want to check it yourself either.
Do you know how many, not to cut you off there, do you know how many people I've seen on social media put out recommendation or ask questions? Who can I get to remove a popcorn ceiling?
Yeah.
And I see people out there going, oh, all you do is wet it down and you scrape it. No. I immediately have it checked.
Yep. So you can contact your local Sherwin-Williams and Benjamin Moore, and they can help you. But you can also call your local EPA that's in Chicago, and they can come out and do a test kit.
Okay.
So you don't want to do them yourself, because then obviously as soon as you get the scraping on it, that's when you're releasing everything into the air.
Right.
And it's releasing those little microfibers that create the lung and respiratory problems that don't happen now. They happen in 10 years.
Yeah.
10 to 40 years is when you're going to start having major problems.
Right. And people don't realize, and I always say this, when you have an older house, they were built with the miracle products of their day.
Yeah.
And
it was good at the time.
Lead paint lasted for a long time.
Yep.
Because of the additives in it. But then, they found out how bad it is, and they banned it in 1978.
Yeah.
That's why we don't open a wall in a house that is earlier than 81, 82.
Yeah, for your plaster, your insulation.
Yeah. So you don't...
Your ceiling tiles, everything, even the insulation wrapped around pipes.
Yeah, those are...
Insulation even inside of your stove.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it was a miracle... Asbestos was a miracle product that was used on just so many different applications. It was actually in 8x8 tile.
Mm-hmm. The floor tiles.
The floor tile. And the mastic that was used to hold it down.
And the glue, yep.
And in some areas, and I read this just recently, that it was asbestos was put in gypsum plaster from like in the early 1900s, between like
1920 is when they started doing the floor tiles,
right,
and the mastic, and then later on in the 50s is when the paint was introduced, and the popcorn ceilings, and all your windows and trim. Well, I guess that was lead paint.
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't know asbestos would be in
your
that,
ceiling tiles and your textured popcorn ceilings.
Yeah, I know lead was in. I know lead was in the paints, and because every houses have a lead paint rider on houses that are built before 1978. So that is definitely something to look out for. And I've had people ask us about that, like when we're opening, we have to do any kind of plumbing. I tell them, check this out. Check for any kind of hazards before anything's done, because once you do that, you can't release this into you start throwing this lead, this paint around, this dust, and it contaminates the whole area. If you start, like I said, removing and scraping a ceiling, or if we open a ceiling and we scrape this off, or we disturb this asbestos, it's thrown throughout the house. And if you've got a central air or furnace system, it's sucking it in and blowing it through the rest of the house.
Yep.
So it is a really,
mesothelioma, that's where that came from.
Yeah, it could be a real problem. And a lot of people just go and do this.
Yeah.
And, it's no big deal. And actually it is a big deal, because there are certifications that you can get as a remodeler. It's lead certified, but I think they said you're allowed to safely open up to a 10 or 12 by 12 opening without having any kind of lead certification. I don't even go. There's no gray area. I don't even go that far.
Yeah, because then you put yourself at risk, and your employees. And as a business owner, that's really your top priorities: is the homeowner, your employees, and yourself.
Yeah, I don't want.
So when you're doing things that are endangering others, you just avoid them.
Yeah, I don't want
to get the proper safety precautions, because they want a whole hazmat suit with a full face respirator and soak down the insulation before you remove it.
There's a whole process to it.
It's very expensive, and so a lot of times we pass up on exteriors that are painted with lead paint, just because encapsulation, that's still annoying, because it can encapsulate it, so you're not at a dead end.
Right.
If you find asbestos or lead in your house, it's not like, you're stuck with it, because there is ways to get rid of it, especially something that's disturbed. Something that's peeling and falling off, that's when you're most at risk.
Right.
If it's intact, you can cover it up with new drywall. You can replace the trim, and then you can also encapsulate it, which is like heavy body primers, which definitely do your research into Sherwin-Williams, because it's not just any paint. You can't just go and take a paint and encapsulate the lead, is because it's usually like a waterproofing paint, and encapsulate. And it's got to be a sound surface.
Wouldn't it probably, if you come across that, say you come across a situation where you run into a home that is older that has these hazards? Because I ran into a house that wanted a repipe and had potential hazards because of the age. Yeah. I sent them over to get everything tested. Test this, and then once the walls were deemed safe from hazards and they were opened up, then I checked for any kind of pipe insulation that was there. So I let the homeowner know that there was a two-phased inspection on this, where first one is going to be checking the walls, making sure that they're safe.
Yeah.
And then once the walls were open, making sure that there was nothing there that was any other hazards that lie behind that. Because that is, you have to clean it up at that. You have to do something at that point.
Finish your job.
Because you no longer work safe for anybody. It's everybody across the board, from the person who owns the house to anybody working in there. contractors and otherwise are all at risk. So, when you walk into you're obviously coming in as a painter or as a renovator that is going to be working on these walls, these rooms, these areas. Do you tell people that, do you recommend them getting a full test before you go on from that point? Okay, so...
Yeah, especially if you can tell just by the age of the house and they're doing full remodel, I want to know.
Right.
Because then you're putting everybody at risk.
Right. And then
if this guy's unfit and he's just going towards his remodel, we go on to the next job. We don't even mess with it. It's, that's their problem past that.
Safety first. There's no...
Because when you hire a professional, you got to expect these kind of results of doing it right.
Well, in my opinion, there's no amount of money worth people's safety.
No, it's really not. Because we make money just so we can retire. We don't make money just because we like to.
Well, I'd like to make sure that they're happy with the job when it's completed and they get the quality product that they want. But also, at the end of the day, you want to be able to live to enjoy it too.
Yep.
You don't want to create a hazard for that. So
that's why when it comes down to sanding, it's really important to check for that stuff, and especially removing popcorn ceilings. We don't even offer that just simply because of that. So many steps, and then people think it's just an easy job to scrape down the ceiling when it's a pretty brutal job. There's
more to it, and again, you can check the hazards. I'm glad we were able to touch and expound a little bit more on that because we didn't get a chance to on the last show. You're joining us here at Prepare to Repair show on WJOL 1340. I'm here with Tyler Libersher with TL Renovations, and we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to be back with other projects like procedures and finding the proper team. So we'll be right back.
WJOL.
Welcome back to the Prepare to Repair show. I am your host, Plumber Steve. Back with me is Tyler Libersher with TL Renovations. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right.
Oh, of course, Steve. You got it right.
Before the break, we were talking about hazards of the job in the construction field. I run into them. You run into them. But I guess you were saying off air that there is another hazard that you run into as from the painting, and I didn't even think about that because this is one thing that people discuss when they're having any kind of coverings put down, like painting and so forth.
Yeah.
Even with when people are having floors refinished.
Yep. So even with the floors, walls, which is VOC, and that's released into the air with a lot of glues and our water-based paints that go on your walls and ceilings.
Right.
So there is low VOC paints that they're generally are the interior paints, low VOCs, and these gas out for right around 30 days to 6 months.
And that gives you the smell that you're smelling in the house.
That's the smell of dry paint is the VOC. So which is why you get down to exterior painting. Mm-hmm. That's why exterior paints cannot be painted inside, is because their VOCs are a lot higher.
Okay.
They're up into the 150, 200s, where a low VOC paint will be down to the 50s.
And they have to be able to. The difference between the two paints is the exterior is obviously handling more elements.
Yeah,
and
it's more durability.
So different chemical makeup.
It's kind of weird. So the stronger paint gets, the more VOCs it has.
Okay.
So when you get into your lacquers, like you said, for your floor refinishing, your polyurethanes and your lacquers for your cabinets, those are releasing VOCs. Even when it's a new cabinet sprayed off site and brought to your house, those are still releasing VOCs, which you can smell them.
Yeah, you still have the
so did they say 2 to 3 days to air out your house for after painting? So you get your entire interior painted for the next 2 to 3 days. You want to be open and closing your windows, because then the VOC symptoms is just like what you think about when you inhale gas. Is like your nose and your throat. You get the headache. You might get nauseous a little bit. That's when you know you're getting VOC poisoning. So
this is not something. These projects are not projects you want to take on during when it's 0 degrees outside.
Right. So yeah, when we're painting when it's cold outside, it gets kind of bad.
Yeah.
Which us as house painters, we always have ventilation going on. Mm-hmm. So we always set up filters and HEPA filters, which is it's a carbon filter, which is the best thing you can do, is set up a carbon filter when you're painting.
And that will rid of the smell?
That filters out all the VOCs. So especially for our cabinet painting, anytime we're turning trim from oak to white in cabinets, we set up our carbon filters.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that because that really grinds my gears when trim is painted.
Yeah.
When you have this old trim from older homes and it's painted.
Yeah.
And that bothers me. But
yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up on it because I think a lot of people when they're having painting being done, it can give them that headache. It can give them
and people don't know where it's coming from. Yeah. They just think that just a smell of dry paint when it's really toxic.
Yeah.
And it's still water-based paint, so like the name of it makes it sound fine. But then even our water-based lacquers have carcinogens in them, which we actually add to it to create a 2K durable finish, is literally carcinogen in a liquid form that we add to our lacquers. And this kind of just is what it is, and that's what we deal with every day. And that's why we have to wear our respirators and dust masks, because us as painters, we want to be able to live till we're 60s and 70s, and a lot of them don't.
Well, there's a lot of older guys who used to paint cars without respirators, and
they're not doing good today. I can bet you that.
They destroyed their lungs.
Yeah, car paints are a different type of lacquer. Right. That's definitely your two-part components. Like even your epoxies. Epoxies are really high VOC since it's 2-part solvent based.
Right.
And that's why it's so strong. That's why they put epoxies on the ground and it takes 24 hours to dry.
But you explain when you're going through and discussing with homeowners their options and what the job is going to entail, you're going through and explaining this to them.
Correct.
So they have an idea, so they're not surprised at the end when the house has a odor to it that may be a little bit overwhelming.
Yeah, and some people opt in for a 0 VOC paint and knowing that it might not be as strong as the higher end paint. For like if we're talking Sherwin-Williams, their top end paint is emerald. So that's a higher VOC paint.
You're a big fan of Sherwin-Williams, aren't you?
I use them for our house paints and Benjamin Moore for our cabinet paints.
Okay.
So I'm friends with both of them. Yeah.
But we're going to get into why at the end of the show, or towards the later end of the show. But we got a couple other things that we're going to get to here that I wanted to, and that is, and I found another thing in that encompasses I would say just the construction industry in general, and especially these days, finding good people that are able to do it, finding people with skills, and finding the right people.
Find good people, the right people, and holding on to them.
That's
retaining these people.
Yeah. Well, that's a challenge. I mean, retention is a challenge even in a good market. I mean, now it's you don't know what are making people tick. I mean, it isn't always about money. It isn't always about just certain benefits. It's just you just don't know what's motivating them.
Right.
But one thing I'm finding in the trades and I've seen it is and I've seen them like for plumbers out because I'm on social media pages with plumbers all over, and there's a lot of pushback on drug testing, and a lot of people, with the legalization of certain certain drugs that are now, people are pushing back on it, and even though they're still tested, like in the union, they're still, tested for. And I'm a proponent 100% for drug testing and background checks of people that are working, just simply because of the fact of if you're having somebody working with machinery, working on ladders, working on it, you want them clear-headed at the top of their game.
Correct.
And you also want, for safety measures, that you want people that are, of good, of the highest character that are going into people's homes and businesses and so forth. So you want to make sure you're getting the best of the best. And I don't know about in your business what you're seeing, but I've seen it where in the construction trade, because it can be transient, and there's a lot of downtime, you have a lot of abuse and issues, with employees.
So our hiring process, I really base on personality a lot. So on who they are and their background. So that's really where I focus at with calling their background. Call the people that they used to work for. These are going to be the people that's most honest. Don't call friends and family about this guy because it's really about past employers. So don't call their mother.
If you call a previous employer and they're on unemployment and the previous employer is paying the unemployment, he's going to tell you what you want to hear.
Yep, you're right. They're going to tell you what you want. Honestly, I'm not too much of a fan of actually drug testing. So I find it a little invasive, but I do keep that open to threaten them with it.
Really?
So, yeah. So I keep it on the table. I keep drug testing on the table for when I feel it's necessary. So their background check and their personality check, you're going to know if someone's high on something when they come into work. Okay. And then now it's on the table to drug test them.
Right.
And, just instantly fire them. Right. And you kind of get a team around you that if they're drinking, if they're smoking weed outside of work, that's got nothing to do with me. That
is what I've heard on many of pages. The only thing is that I've talked to many people on that subject is, and this could be a total, show on itself, but it's the fact of with alcohol, it's been around for so long and people have been doing it for so long, they pretty much can gauge when it comes in and when it goes out. You know what I mean? How long, and they can kind of test for it. And sobriety. They can, they have a way to do that. With drugs like marijuana, cannabis, there's no solid test because it affects people differently.
Correct. There's no solid test, but there is a solid smell and the way they act.
Right.
And
I've seen some
pretty
people
good at picking up on that stuff since I've had friends and tried it out myself. So you can really pick up on the smell and the way they act.
I've seen some people act pretty goofy, and they had nothing wrong with it. They didn't touch a drop of alcohol or any drug out there. They were just kind of goofy.
Yeah, I tend to keep up on my guys pretty well, so when their personalities change, it's pretty obvious. Yeah. And when their work shows for themselves, you got to keep up on that. Right. So, because we have project managers, but for the hiring process, it's, we make it last like right around a week before we hire somebody. So it's a week of interviews, calling their past, right, figuring the stuff out, taking our time, because if someone's pushy, you don't want him. There's a reason he's pushing. He's calling you, hey, you done with my background check? You done with this? You done with that? Hurry up, I need to get hired. That guy just needs to go find another job.
Right, I hear you.
Because if someone doesn't have a job and you hire them, those are usually the guys you're not looking for. The guys you're looking for have a job right now.
Right,
they're out there working, painting. But what drives them to your team is a great community.
Right.
So you give them a great community, they could even take less pay. Right. But granted, me as TL Renovations, we hire or we pay them top notch
for a better opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. I make a great community. I give them top notch pay, and just tell them take their time and do this stuff right.
Okay.
That's our motto. Going into these houses is just take your time, do it once, because that's what the customer wants, and that's what the company wants too.
Yeah. See, my thought on that, and I kind of agree and disagree. One, having the policy coming through the door of what is expected and what is not. Maybe I'm a little bit more hard-nosed on that and hard-lined on it, is the fact that I'm sending people into somebody's house, and also you're driving a company vehicle. You are working on tools that are pretty dangerous tools, coring bits. You're working with a rotting machine that'll tear your fingers off. If you don't know how to use it, you're digging in holes. And me personally, again, if I'm in a hole and I'm doing a repair, I need somebody who's watching my back.
Yep.
I need somebody who's handing me stuff and not just he's not. I need him clear.
Oh yeah.
Especially operating a machine, all the things that go on with what we're doing, and holding a ladder for me or being up on a ladder. I want everyone to be safe and clear headed. And the fact of the matter is whatever you did the night before, I don't know whether it's alcohol or anything.
Yeah, I mean,
if it's coming back, if it's coming to the next day, that's a problem. That's why having the policy in place where, this is what's tolerated, this is what's not.
Yep, and have those drug tests on the table.
Exactly. That's the reason why I do it. It's my concern on that, because I got to get people the best quality and safest because they're working in the house. And you don't want anybody to get hurt. You don't want. You want
a big deal.
You go to work in the beginning of the day, and you go home at the end of the day. That's the main thing.
Yep, and then if you ever got hurt on the job in workman's comp, the first thing you do is get drug tested.
Exactly.
Once you enter the hospital.
Exactly.
So they're going to have you pee right here in this cup.
Right. And I've had people say, well, like you said.
And that's going to determine what's coming next.
Exactly. So I just wanted to get your vibe on that, but I think that it is one of those things that are running into that are in the trades. That is something that people, when they're hiring, look out for. If it doesn't matter to you and you're a proponent, that's fine. You can just don't ask. But if it's something that you're concerned about, that you want specific employees that are drug tested, background check, things like that, there are companies out there, and you can ask for that. And if you're not getting that, then you can continue to move on.
Yeah, you definitely want to know. Exactly. What kind of background checks these companies are doing, because they can hire their nieces and nephews and their next door neighbor. And next thing you know, that's the paint crew you have painting your house. Yeah. And they're all like learning on your job. You could tell they're just kind of bumping shoulders. You're like, these guys have never worked together. So bunch of first years.
So we're gonna move on from this. Like I said, we can continue to go on and talk about that for hours.
We always love talking about work, Steve.
Exactly. There you go. So
on and off air.
There you go. Yeah. Like I said, we chat for half hour before the show and on break. We're going to touch on another topic, is keys to customer satisfaction. So when you have your initial consultation and you're discussing the project, on what the project entails and what you are going to bring to the table, you are going to have things come up. And I have things come up where, well, I've got these materials I want you to install. I've got this, these fixtures that I want you to install. And some of them are top quality, which is great. Some of them, they're being purchased from Amazon and their quality is questionable.
Correct.
And in this particular case, they want 100% of the responsibility on you as the installer or the contractor. But yet, if things don't work right, there is literally little or no blame on the products themselves.
Correct, and that's big.
And I think a lot of times the product themselves, it could be the product not being of good quality. It could be the product being installed or used in a manner that it wasn't designed for, or in an application it wasn't designed for.
Correct.
So a lot of all these weigh into getting the best product that you can. Now, when you, in your consultation that you have, and people come, you're discussing their projects with the homeowner. What are you discussing with them?
So what kind of goes over is the very first thing is you have to listen to what they want. So listen to exactly what they want.
I want a purple dinosaur on my wall.
Exactly. So
can you do that?
No.
So if I wanted
I might know some artists, but
if I wanted all 7 dwarfs on my wall, you couldn't do that.
No.
Can you name all 7 dwarfs?
Sleepy, Grumpy, no.
Oh my God! It's Sleepy, Sneezy, Dope. It's Sleepy, Sneezy, Dopey, Doc, Bashful, Grumpy, and Happy.
Yeah, isn't that all the things of someone that has addiction problems?
Okay, we got off of that. Okay, okay. So you're going to the consultation. That went sideways.
So the consultation.
I thought you were going to say somebody who had a cold.
Cold? No, addiction problems. So you gotta listen to what they want. So
who's got an addiction problem that's bashful?
Bashful, all of them, I guess. It's all just like stages of it.
And grumpy?
Yeah, they get grumpy, they get happy, they get sleepy.
My dad was grumpy.
Yeah,
it was my fault.
Yeah, it's probably the alcohol.
No, he wasn't a drinker. It was me.
It's the kids.
I made him grumpy.
Right, that happens. Yeah, so you gotta listen to what they want. So our customers want high-end stuff. They want quality products. And guess what that takes? Is a couple more dollars.
Right.
That's really all it takes. So some customers will say, I'm going to have the paint here. You guys just put it on the walls. That's not how we work. Because there's so many different levels to the paint. People just go straight to Menards, Home Depot. I got 10% off here. You can't
say they're big box stores.
Big box stores. So they Yeah, we'll just pick up anything just to save.
There went Menards and Home Depot as sponsors. Thanks, buddy.
Hey, maybe we can get them on here too.
I've already lost Sally's. I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago. So now I lost
Benjamin Moore. I gotta go get my money from them.
Oh God! Now we lost Benjamin Moore.
So I don't let the customers buy the material. I'll fully discuss with what they want. Sometimes they want just their apartment painted, and then that's different, But when we work on their personal homes, they're like, I'm going to be living here for the next 10, 15, 20 years. I want this to last. Right. I want to clean it. And then leave that up to me because I'm listening to what they want, and then now I know they want quality products, and that's what I quote them for.
Right.
And saying this is what you want. You want this stuff to last, or do you want to paint it next year?
Okay. I'm going to ask you some of the products you recommend. We're going to take a quick break here on the Prepare to Repair show at 1340 WJOL. We'll be back with some products from Tyler Libersher with TL Renovations.
40 WJOL.
Welcome back to the Prepare to Repair show. I am your host, Steve Suarez, Plumber Steve with RJ Graham Plumbing. I'm back here with Tyler Libersher with TL Renovations. And before the break, we were discussing products and homeowners buying products or customers buying products versus him supplying the products. And you were about to let us know what kind of products that you recommend that you use. And, just from there's always contractor grade, which is the ones that are going to be durable, that's going to last. And that's the one you could put your warranty on. And there's going to be the consumer grade that is not going to, it's going to be less expensive and it's not going to have the durability. I run into that in the plumbing industry as well. Yeah. So, but on your end, does that affect your warranties? Like, what kind of warranty would you give?
Yeah.
You supply the products, you come in, I have you painting my house. What,
we always give a standard 1-year warranty. So after 12 months, we've never really had a problem with the materials we use since we don't let people purchase the material. We just build that into our price. So we're always using the right stuff and the right applications. And standard 1-year warranty so it can go through the seasons.
And what does the manufacturer give?
They give 10 to 15 years.
Okay. Why is your 1-year warranty on the labor? Because people can...
Yeah, so the main thing that gets us is stress cracks of houses.
Okay.
So people think that because you painted their house, you just now solved all their stress cracks problems.
Okay.
And
what are stress cracks?
Stress cracks is from your house settling.
Okay.
And going through the 4 seasons here in Illinois, that we got the beautiful 4 seasons, that your house is constantly expanding, contracting from the humidity.
So you'll see them around windows, doors,
any vaulted ceilings always are super prone. So right above the window where the drywall meets each other, boom, stress crack.
But you'll seal them up when you're painting.
Exactly. So when we go through and paint the house, we're taking care of the nail pops, the stress cracks.
Okay.
After 12 months, people think, oh, these nail pops came back. What the heck? What the heck, painters? You guys painted my house, and now these nail pops are back. Hey, there's only so much we can do to solve those problems.
So if these nails are coming through,
that's why we have a standard 12-month warranty. If we were to do multiple years, it's just irrelevant for paint, because in painting problems, you'll know right away within the first 30 days.
Okay, the
paint's gonna fall right off. If you improperly painted, it's gonna be bubbles. If anything, the next day.
Really? Okay. So if you have nail pops, and that's what I thought. I have to ask when I get a question, so because it might, that little.
Nail pops and stress cracks are the biggest thing. So stress cracks, what we do is kind of V-notch them. So we cut a V out. We're talking about hairline stress cracks now. That's just something minor. So we V-line them, which is cut them out with a V, and re-mud and tape these.
Okay.
So that, you might be good for a couple of years. It depends on your foundation, your builder, whether you have open concepts. So it really depends on all those little keys of if you have a quality builder that really overbuilt your house, you're not going to see these problems. Our main thing is after 20 years or so, we're in these 20-year-old houses. I'll find all the stress cracks. I'll find all the nail pops, point them out, and they have to be broken is what I call them, is that you can visually see them.
Okay.
Because when you go to inspect a house, once you shine a light up and down your walls, you're going to see every minor imperfection. But once you take a step back, these are kind of painting standards that I tell all the customers, is that for a properly painted surface, you have to be 3 feet away from the walls, natural viewing position, and natural lighting.
Okay.
So that means you can't be getting down on the ground with a high-powered light to find everything. So as
walls
a painter,
are going to be imperfect.
Walls are going to be imperfect. Drywall seams, you're going to find them because that's just standard building practices. And so we really try to go through all that stuff, informing a customer like, hey, you're going to be able to find it. So that's why I say things that are cracked and broken, that's stuff you can find.
And you'll take care of that.
And you take care of that, and you warranty all that, for 12 months, and you go on to the next one.
Now we're going to get to the one thing that really grinds my gears, and we're going to finish the show with that. And you know what that is?
Oak trim.
Oak trim.
So
when they paint it, and you just, some of this old woodwork that I've seen in houses, and you just see that it was years and years of paint on it, and it's just, and then when they strip it down and it looks, and you get to that wood and how good it looks, it's just unbelievable. It's
oak trim and doors. That's always the contemplation every house I'm in. So we're sitting in a room right now with oak trim and windows, and so I hate to even say it, but golden oak is coming back.
Okay.
I hate to even say it. Because
why?
I personally like white trim. You can change any color you want. I'm just
okay. That's it for Tyler. He's down here. He likes trim painted instead of just oak.
I do.
I'm going to cut your mic off. Thank you. That was it.
So I actually like a mixture.
You have been censored.
Hey, Steve, don't do that to me now. Okay. I got to finish this.
All right.
So I'm a personal fan of a mixture of stain and paint. Okay. So when I say that, I personally love when the casing, the door jamb is painted with a stained door.
Okay.
And I love that look. But backing up a little bit, stain trim is coming back. So even golden oak, our designer that comes in there, it depends on what color. She can play off any color to make that trim look great. So as we're sitting in here, earth tones. So we're sitting here with earth tones, makes your golden oak, any stain, looks amazing. When you try to go to your cool colors, like your grays, that's kind of when you start fighting your golden oak.
Right. Okay.
But
it doesn't
work
together.
That's always the biggest thing. We come into houses and the husband wants his stain. The wife wants her paint. So she wants that white trim, and the husband always wants to leave the oak alone. And that's always my biggest battle when I come into these houses. But I always make them
it's usually the husband wants the wood
every time.
And the wife wants to paint it.
Every time.
Really?
So, yeah.
I would think it would be the other way around, because my wife, when I was talking about her, she's like, she doesn't like wood that's or trim that's painted.
Yeah.
She likes it basically stained.
Yeah.
She likes the natural look of the wood.
Hey, it's something different then.
Wow, that is weird.
I bet after I talk to her, she will want it white.
No, because we got white trim, white baseboards, and everything now, and
so she's used to white.
Yeah,
so that's why she wants stain.
Yeah, she was never like that, so. Yeah, she was never a big fan of that. So it's like she always you see the older houses. She liked the woodwork, and whether it was golden oak or whether they had it with a darker cherry. I mean, it all depends on how you actually stained it and got the look that you wanted.
It is. So it really depends on the color of the stain is big. So my job is to not sell them on white trim or stain. It's my job to inform them up to their own decision to turn this white or keep it stained.
Oh, yeah.
So I do every line possible to inform them about what colors are you looking for. Is this going to match your trim? And give them my honest opinion.
Well, you've got a designer. You said you got a designer that does it.
So I've got a designer, which is massive. So she will come in after me, because during my normal consultation, I don't bring the designer. It's after accepted, is when the designer comes in. So I go through every possibility with these people and make them have the decision whether it's like, yeah, let's do all white trim.
Right.
Because the big thing is people look around their house and say, well, my windows are white and my doors are white.
Right.
But now I just have this baseboard left in my downstairs that I'm like, well, you don't want to chop it up. So you really want to just keep it all white and turn what's left white, if that's the color groups you're going for.
Okay. Well, I like the like I said, the having the designer to be able to kind of point you or in a direction, give ideas where homeowners may not be able to see that. Because honestly, I mean, I don't have the vision on some of this stuff. I don't have the vision on colors.
It's really hard to see what's past what you have on the walls right now.
It's an art form. It's really, it's like, oh, did you try these colors? I'm like, no, they're going to look ugly. And then they put them together, and it's like, wow, this thing looks phenomenal. So
yeah, exactly.
I don't have that, and having that eye is a gift, and being able to supply that is really good. And I'm still trying to figure out why you can't do a purple dinosaur on the wall, and how the seven dwarfs all of a sudden got drug problems. So we got to figure that out, man. So
maybe I drug tested them.
Exactly. Which ones are going to fail?
Extensive background checks is how we figure that out, Steve.
The 7 dudes that lived in the middle of the forest.
Yeah,
why were they living there by themselves off the grid?
Yeah, they're playing mushrooms around them.
There you go.
Well, why do you think they're maintaining farms, Steve?
Well, I appreciate you being on the show and joining us again. Thank you. And if people want to reach out to you and for your services, how do they get
sir.
hold of you?
Check us out on Facebook, TL Renovations. We like to have our Facebook following there. Contact us at 815-514-5705.
All right. Thank you, my friend, for being on the show. Informative and educational as always. I want to thank everyone for listening.